You're watching The Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Everybody,
oh, hello.
It's time for a Mustache You question. And I love our new lead-in music because I'm so metal.
Are you?
So metal. The only thing metal about me is my long hair, I guess.
We're waiting for Hick, who said he's going to be popping on in a few seconds. He had a blue screen of death.
Blue screen is horrible. That makes you have the panic attack.
For me, the thing is, blue screen of death was a big thing in like the 90s and the 2000s, but now really the bane of my existence is Windows Update. That's the blue screen that I hate.
When it force pushes in the middle of something you're doing important.
And the thing is, I have my computer set to not update, not do anything. Like, hey, I don't need this right now. And it's that, okay, yeah, sure. Bam! That's what you're just like, you're just ignoring me. You are God now. Got it.
Or it's okay, you don't have to update, but we're going to slow down every function on your computer so that it barely works.
How is that? How is that legal?
It does feel like
hey, my keyboard's not working anymore. Just like, well, that's crazy, isn't it? It's like the mob coming at just like, it looks like you don't need pants if you can't feel your legs. Bah!
Oh, that hair, yes.
Yes, it's poofy. My wife loves the poofiness. What's up, everybody?
So suave. Look at you.
Force push updates by Windows.
First, all of a sudden, I thought the blue screen was something of yesteryear. Like, how do I keep on getting blue screens all of a sudden? You know, the blue screen of death, that was something from like Windows Millennia.
From 2002?
No, mine's not. I know, that's what you think. It's insane. Like, it just randomly like, and then has a smiley face. And it's not like a nice emoji smiley face. It's like, you know, the
horrifying one.
And then the parenthesis.
The 8-bit one that looks like it's like,
yes,
I'm not real sorry.
It's reminding me that I'm back in 2002. Oh, back when I was 22. Oh, those good times. You know, Michael, I don't think I've ever asked you your age. So now's the perfect time to do that.
Now's the perfect time to guess, sir.
You are
tomorrow.
You are 28.
Oh, that's so nice of you.
Okay, we'll just keep it that way. I'm going to keep it.
I turned 34 tomorrow.
Wow. Well, happy early birthday, my friend.
Thank you so much.
It's very awesome. Now, Jen, I might have told you this last show. Have you watched House of Dragons?
I have not watched House of Dragons. We're still trying to make it through. What were we finishing? Oh, we picked up another show that I don't know why, but it's called La Brea.
Oh, the La Brea, about the La Brea tar pits out in
hole that takes them through time and is completely unbelievable, and every single character you want to scream at the whole time because it's like, why are you making these decisions that are so stupid? Except for the further of the story. Okay.
I heard that was yes, it was like a guilty pleasure. La Brea. I saw when I was out in LA, they were all over the place, meaning the billboards for that show. Nice. Well, House of Dragons, the reason I brought that up is there's this absolute badass who was supposed to be the queen, right? That totally is like an older version of you.
Oh man, I'll take it.
So you know who I'm talking about, don't you?
I know who you're talking about. Yes, that.
And it was just like, Jen, I meant to tell you before Halloween because she gets in this like ready to battle garb towards the end of the season. It's just like the Jen needs to go You know,
When
all
she
you have to do is
burst
die
in
with
with that
some of the-
dragon.
Yeah, it's so good. I'll find out that character and I'll let you know. But for those of you who are listening, if you haven't watched House of Dragons, it's awesome. I love it. My wife and I are huge Game of Thrones fans, and I really enjoyed it. There's some time jumps that happen within. It's the same characters, but time jumps throughout time that happens pretty quick. So it's not really that slow burn that a lot of Game of Thrones and fantasy like stories go through, but highly recommend. And once I find out that character, she was meant to be queen. So Queen Jen.
She's in line for it and been denied.
She was originally in line for it and then got passed up because she was a woman. So, and they gave her cousin, the main guy, he's the one who became king. I don't want to ruin more for it. It's just really good. I highly recommend it. It's a binge watcher for sure. And all 10 episodes are out. So you and your husband are in for a treat when you actually sit down and watch it.
Oh, yeah.
One thing I will say is that with the original Game of Thrones show, I could keep up with a lot of the names because the hair was all different colors. Oh, black-haired family, white-haired family, blonde-haired family, squirrel blonde-haired family. And it's okay. And then eventually I got the names. With this, everybody's got white hair. So I'm just like,
I know. And they're all like Targaryens, or like there's, I guess, another one. I can't remember it. But yeah, it's a cluster.
And
goodness. Did I just get blue screened again? No, I didn't.
No, we still see you.
Like a Norton thing just popped up randomly.
Why do you have Norton?
I have to have it for my finance gig.
Norton is basically malware. Windows Defender is.
They require it, man. It's part of the job. Speaking of the job, you know, I know we've gone off. We love to go off on tangents, but one of the main purposes of this podcast is to take a perspective from the publisher and a perspective from the comic shop. So for those of you who don't know, I'm the president of Scout. Michael here is he's an OG of Scout. He wears many hats at the company, and we do have a interesting insight. I know we're here in November, but it's getting close to year end. This has been one of the most challenging years since I've been working behind the scenes for the past 6 years at Scout. We have gone through so much as a company in these past 11 months. And the only thing I can say is we persevere. There's been regime changes. There's been paper shortages. There's just been all kinds of really like negative stuff that we've been able to navigate the icy waters and like come out, knock on wood ahead. But that's on our side. What's the side from the comic store? Because I know you guys have to be struggling too with, the inflation is real. The recession is real, despite people saying, some people thinking the other. I truly feel that's what happened. So what have been the biggest obstacles that you've faced as a shop? And what have you noticed, Jen?
I think what I'm seeing right now is the recession is real and people's money is tight. So I've been aware of that. I'm trying to carry more everyone can afford them things for Christmas. Like we had a guy call today that had like a really expensive Zack Snyder Superman statue. I looked it up and it was like $1,000 object that he wanted to sell us. And I said, it looks really nice. And I take it on consignment and try real hard to sell it. But I will tell you that I can't buy it right now because the likelihood that someone's going to come in with a K in their pocket that they're going to want to sell on use on themselves, which usually statues or people buying them for their own collectible, is really low. And then the other thing I've seen is that I've kind of heard this, the retailers in general have been saying that it feels like when we're looking forward to like the December release schedule, that it's like almost like everyone finally got paper, or they're, like people turned in all their stuff or whatever. It just feels like a really crowded marketplace for what we're ordering. That kind of like puts a little stress on us because we don't want to, which is like everybody else, who still want to be the cool kid and have all the cool kid stuff at the store. So now it's just kind of like what to order and how much is a little more clouded than it is when everything is fine, right? When the economy is fine and everyone's spending their normal spending habits, and it's an easier thing to figure out. But it's like, it would be really nice to, I tap my husband for his master's degree in business all the time, because you have to use business more than your gut right now, because your gut, there's no precedent for it unless you live through 2008 or 1996 in the industry. It kind of feels similar, but.
Hey, Jen, do you mind me asking, do you also fulfill online orders as well? And
Yeah.
do you find that in-store sales versus online sales? And I usually find that online sales for a lot of stores end up being like the actual place where revenue comes in. How have you seen that fluctuate?
Well, we don't do new comics as a pre-order, so this number is going to be a little bit different. We do healthy selling online, the traditional ways like eBay and Shopify and that kind of stuff. And we do live selling. Live selling is a little bit tight right now. We can see that in the numbers. But still, it's always the store is always the strongest. Like our whole thing is the hands-on. We know you, what you'll like. We'll hand you stuff that we think you'll like. We'll help you find something. Like the customer service thing, I still think is important. I actually saw something today that was interesting to me. It was an article about business, and they were talking about that places like Target were seeing $400 million losses this year from theft, like gangs going in and clearing out their shelves, or just like piece by piece theft. And they were saying that now they understand there is a limit to the amount of automation you can have in a business, self-checkout and app checkout and all that kind of stuff. They see, oh yeah, real people and putting a real person's face to a business is so important. Like if it's just a nameless, faceless place where you just you check your own self out, you're much less likely to have, like if you have a bad person bent, it's so much easier to do it then, because you're like, well, I'm not hurting anybody. There's nobody here to hurt. So I think that we'll see comic book stores. I think people will realize the importance of them, and other small business, that hands-on part will mean something more to people as people realize they need personal connection.
I was reading something. First, it's interesting to go to what you said about feeling like there was an influx of books in December. I remember hearing retailers saying over the past couple years that they didn't like the fact that publishers had taken a break in December. And part of the reason why, from the publishing standpoint, why we do is because our distributors take at least the common distributor was Diamond. When they had the full control of the direct market, they would take basically the last 2 weeks off. So everybody kind of tighten the belt there. And I think just seeing numbers and trends, releases that did come out in December weren't as November, December weren't as successful as really where it started. We saw things the most successful months, if you had to say, it was February, March, April, and May. Those seem to be rock and roll as far as consistency. And of course, it all depends on what type of books, that you're putting out. So I know there's a lot of other variables that really are hard to quantify. But I found that interesting that I didn't know so many people. I know we don't, just because of that, we actually took a little bit of a step back in December and in January, and kind of are really ramping up in those months that I just said. And then the other thing that I really wanted to ask is, I read this. Well, first, I want to tell you, I don't know if you've read that ICV2 article with Mike Richardson at Dark Horse. Have you had a chance to read that?
I haven't read that one. I just read the Comic Bug Junjoku one today.
Oh, I haven't read that one. So we need to be reading cross articles there. But just a little Cliff Notes version of it. It was just really interesting. He said that because this is probably his first big interview that he's done since they left Diamond as a distributor, and now it's just a wholesaler, and they went to Penguin Random House, who have been doing their bookstore distribution for many, many years. And he made a comment in one of his Q&A, was Dark Horse is above and beyond the number 3 publisher, even though the Diamond numbers don't reflect that. And he just said that most of his business Dark Horse's business is 85% through the bookstore channel. And I was just fascinated by that. And then he told me Berserk, I believe, which is that anime. Bless you, Michael. Was that anime story? He said that that sold 5 million copies. And it's just wow. It just kind of shows you with manga, anime
and
stuff.
And the creator just died. So that really.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I think he was sick for a long time, and there was a big worry as to, because manga specifically compared to a lot of Western books, it's auteur. It's the one creator with a small team creating the book, but it's the one creator, and they're making hundreds and hundreds of chapters depending on the book. And he was Game of Thrones long game, and people were wondering who's going to pick this up. And I think it was his direct colleague who's continuing the story, and his team stuck together, because usually they would disband and go into other teams. They stuck together, so that boosted sales amazingly well, because people are just like, man, can he continue the story? Can this guy continue the story that this guy created? And he's been doing a phenomenal job. So
that's
people are very, very hyped. So
what shocks me, 5 million, that's not of a floppy, that's of a graphic novel, a thick. It's incredible. So my question that I was leading to, I just wanted to bring that up, see if you had done it. But my other question was, as far as your pull service goes, subscription service, how have you seen an increase and decrease this year? And part B to that question is that a big portion of your business, or have you seen that over the past few years kind of, slowly getting lower and lower? Because I know traditionally that has been such a big thing for comic stores, is the pull service or subscription service.
Ours is pretty steady. We've lost some people that basically just said that because of the economy, or they lost a job, or having a baby or whatever, they just for financial reasons have taken a step back from their polls. But then we've added new people that are like brand new people to comic books, or they just finally jumping into the pool. So yeah, like there's some of them have been customers of ours for years that have just been like, no, I like to pick it up off the shelf. And as I've seen that the numbers are getting tighter on the shelf, they're like, okay, I guess I'll start a pull box that makes more sense. And I tell them over and over again, it helps us so much. If you know every single time She-Hulk's going to come out, you want one, just do a pull box. It helps us to make sure. So we have the numbers that they're going to be appropriate.
Do you feel that, I guess going to that, like, why don't you sell new books online? You mentioned that you don't sell like your new issues online. Is there a reason for that, or is it just because of the software, or is it because
to me, it's a level of complexity that feels even more like playing Vegas.
Okay.
Because I just feel like in order to be able to have enough to make it worthwhile for having an online presence for new books, you have to. And this is me. I'm not mad at them, but there are so many discount new comic book stores out there that like take 35% off the top, that I don't want to play that game. I think it devalues the books. You're saying that the books aren't worth as much. It's just my personal opinion. I understand that they're doing it in volume, but I can't compete for that. So I'd rather just compete in that. I'd rather do live and
live back issues,
all about them. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. It absolutely makes sense. Now that we kind of talked about the trials and tribulations of the year, let's talk about some positivities of the year, like some of the positive things, and then of course we can like wrap things up with what do we see, some of the challenges and some of the possible successes for the comic market in 2023. So the positives, we were introduced to live selling with Whatnot, that during a time of paper shortage, where we couldn't print because we couldn't find paper, really helped sustain our business. We created new products, which is the Pressworks printer plates, that we basically took someone else's trash and we turned it into a treasure that it really truly is. So we created brand new revenue streams in a time where they were really needed. They were supposed to be add-ons to the business, but they turned out to be, quite honestly, saviors in a time of, extreme struggle. I also see a huge uptick for us in the bookstore market. We have an amazing rep at Simon & Schuster, and we really didn't get a lot of feedback when we first came on there, and we know how to navigate that river, so to speak, a little bit better this year, or this coming year. So those were some of the successes. We had some really cool books that come out, a couple multimedia plays. We have projects that are so close to the finish line as far as TV and movie shows are going. And I think with just more time coming on and people getting used to,
we lost your video stream.
Oh, am I? Yeah, it says your browser lost connection.
That's all right. You're hearing you, so it's good.
So good. You're hearing what I'm saying. But yeah, I mean, those were the positives from our end. There was a lot of, despite the negatives, which can get fuzzy, we did have a lot of good positives too. And I foresee next year being fantastic. Like, did you see any like amazing books or sales or certain things that you weren't expecting that surprised you as far as, a comic shop or comics go?
So I'm one of those retailers that at the beginning of pandemic, when there was a possibility of multiple ways to get books, I was happy. Like, I'm still thrilled over the top. I wish people weren't doing exclusive distribution, that there was just like multiple places to get your books, so that when someone was out of something or a part of the country was experiencing bad weather or whatever, there was multiple places to get them from. That, I think, as much as it adds for people's like time for doing those orders, I haven't had the same problems that I had before, where if there was like a work stoppage or 18-wheeler wasn't working or whatever, when it used to be, if something like that happened, we just didn't get books for the week. And then by the time they came in, people had picked them up some other way. So it was like thrown away money. Now, if one of those distributors has a hiccup, we still are getting our books from the other ones. So we still have stuff for the rack that get people to come in. And then it doesn't make such a big hole for when there are hiccups in supply chain. So I think that's one of the really most wonderful things. Like, you guys have fully embraced that, the direct to us. We're really thankful for it. It means that we know that our books are coming in then looking really beautiful and pristine, and we know that for sure they're coming, and we don't have any doubts about those things. And I don't think I've ever had to like turn in one damage. So
they're so great here. Again, shout out to the Scout HQ staff. They're incredible. And if you are a retailer, like, if there is a problem, they're really quick to contact and really quick to rectify any kind of problem that they have. And one thing that's, just speaking to that, as far as from our end, we had a competitive advantage because Comic Impressions, our main printer, is right across the river here, like 5 miles from HQ. So we would get the books extremely quick, which gave us a competitive advantage, and the retailers who ordered direct from us a competitive advantage. But when we had to move a lot of things to Canada and separate the stuff, a lot of times when we're receiving books, it's the same time that, Diamond gets it closer because, Canada to Plattsburgh, New York is a lot quicker than Canada to Florida. So we lost a little bit of that competitive advantage of getting those books early. So we've navigated it. With Comic Impressions, they went through such an awful year. I can't even begin. But yeah, I think that's what's huge, is opening that channel up. But I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to add that to it. I know that's been an issue where it's like, oh man, I didn't see that initially. We didn't see it as a company. How like, okay, we don't really have that competitive if we print somewhere further away from us than 5 miles down the road.
And speaking of bad weather, how are things down there? Like,
well, we had another hurricane. I'm sure you guys saw last week. Which was luckily it was just what a typical hurricane or tropical storm looked like, where it was just cloudy and drizzly with a little wind. So we didn't get hit here bad because it came across the east side. Thank goodness. It's just still bad. They don't talk about it on the news or anything, but they're talking where the beaches here, which we're a seasonal town or city, where from after Thanksgiving all the way through up until Easter, our population like doubles. Snowbirds come down. And the beaches aren't going to be open for well over a year because, there's houses and cars and like stuff in, like, even boaters are weird about going because what might have been a sandbar or, there could be a roof. It's crazy. It's going to be a long, long time. Like, I'm a big softball player and I really look forward to the fall season. We got canceled because FEMA is using the softball fields as a base.
Yep,
still.
that makes sense.
Isn't that it's crazy. It's crazy. So that was the long story of it. It's slowly improving.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah. It just going through neighborhoods, seeing the blue tarps just everywhere is just crazy. Like I have to get a new roof, and my insurance adjuster came out pretty quickly, and then all of a sudden, like they were supposed to contact me, and like they said 4 to 8 business days, and it's been like a month and a half. I've been trying to get a hold, but I there's so many other people in a lot worse situations than myself, so it's not leaking, it's fine. But yeah, it's very much backed up. Like we just got our yard waste removed last week, so a whole bunch of dead grass, as you can imagine, when you have like sticks and palm fronds laying on it for like many weeks. Yeah, it's been crazy. So as far as like next year, Jen, just back to the comic side of things, how about back issues? Because I just feel like in the past, I don't know, past like 4 or 5 months, there hasn't been any really super hot back issues, like first appearances. Like I haven't noticed that. Is that just me, or would you? Do you think the same thing? Like, has that kind of been a little bit weird as far as like back issues go, like tremendous, like top 10 kind of thing?
I think what I'm seeing is for a little while there was a lot of big speculation in books that there were characters that may or may not show up in TV shows or in the big screen. Like you'd see, like for example, that we'll just go back in time. Loki gets announced, right? Mm-hmm. And so then everyone starts speculating the market for every first appearance that might be attached to Loki. So we've been in this for like a couple of years, this kind of like, oh, I'm going to get ahead of the market and go grab that up. And I think maybe a little bit why we've seen not as much of that is because we had so many people spend so much money on the maybes that they're like, maybe it
didn't pay off
money to do the new ones. But I think they're smaller. It's like we've kind of seen like with the Black Panther that you've got some new books that people are hunting, but the print run is pretty small on those books. So there's not a lot of people that have them that are not stuck away in collections right now. So maybe that's it. Maybe there are keys or new minor keys. Maybe we're not hearing as much about them because people are like, that's awesome, I got to pay the bills.
Yeah, like kind of unloading stuff instead. Like, I guess, what do you think for the next year, like the new year, as far as positives and possible negatives? And I'm sure we'll have a year-end show that we can go into even greater but what do you think? I
think the economy will recover. People will get jobs that they love again and get back into their collecting and feel free to add to them instead of everyone's a little bit nervous right now, right? So it's a cycle that happens all the time. It's like they say in Battlestar Galactica, it's all happened before and it will all happen again.
Such a good show.
I tell people all the time that come with collections that need to sell them for bills or whatever reason, I'm just like, you remember that joy you had collecting this collection? You now get to have it again. Or whatever else you want, when you want to put the same one back together or something else. It's like you at least collected something that was of value that can help you through this crisis. So comic books are awesome. They're different than like if you just collected novels, for example, or whatever, seashells or whatever. The likelihood you're going to be able to go in and sell them to pay a bill is pretty low. So at least in that way, comic books are awesome and can save your butt in a crunch.
Yes, in a pinch, right?
Yeah.
Well, it looks like we're about out of time. Again, thank you so much. And apologize for last week. I had some unexpected guests come into the office. But yeah, it's weird. Sometimes I forget that I definitely wear more than one hat, not just in Scout, but in my other line of work as well. So
your other life.
Yeah, my other life, the paying job, as I say. But again, thank you guys so much for joining us. This has been another episode of I Mustache You a Question with Jen King, Michael Sanchez, and James Hake. And we will see everybody next week. Oh, it looks like it's going to be the day before Thanksgiving.
Oh, my word.
So we can talk Black Friday sales next week and fun Black Friday gets. And of course, we can also talk about the trade paperback Black Friday that we have, which is awesome. But thank you guys again, and we'll see you guys next week.